Hey Lisa, how are you?
Hey, I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Listen, we're going to wait just a second to get a few people on here. But
Okay.
today, I'm incredibly excited to talk to you again. You know, last time you and I we had the opportunity to talk, and we talked about mental health in the minority community and what that looks like, and that is such a vast conversation. And
It is.
even I think we talked a very long time last time, and I don't even think we still scratched the tip of the iceberg.
No, I think we need to talk once a month because there's so much stuff to cover.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, hopefully this will be the beginning of some really, really great conversations, and I'm incredibly
Yeah.
excited that we're able to do this, and hopefully we can get some feedback and some interaction today. But today we're specifically talking about the topic of suicide, right?
Yes.
Suicide in
Yep.
the specifically in the Black community, what that looks like, and all of that. But really quickly, so for before we jump right into it, go ahead and give everybody a little of your background. You are a licensed therapist, so just kind of tell everybody a little of your background before we jump into this
Uh,
topic.
okay. So I'm Lisa Butler. I am a licensed clinical social worker in private practice in Chicago. And I've been focusing my work in social work on Black women and Black girls for past over 20 years. And I love that demographic. Obviously, I'm a Black woman, but I was a Black girl. And it is my passion. It has been my passion probably since I was 16 to help Black women and Black girls cultivate a healthy emotional, mental, and spiritual space. So that is what I do on a daily basis, and I love it. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And you're sticking to it. All right, all right.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of jump into this topic now. We are talking about again suicide, specifically in our community. Of course, we can talk
Mhm.
about it as it exists within any demographic. Why do
Mhm.
you think it's so important, Lisa, that we specifically have this conversation about suicide in the Black community?
First of all, September is National Suicide Prevention Month. Number one.
Hmm.
Number two, suicide in our community is just still very, very, very hush. You don't hear about it, um, and I think that that's a problem
Hmm.
with the way the numbers are increasing in our community in terms of our young people. I did not know until I was writing a piece the other day that uh, African American boys, 5 to 12, are more likely to die by suicide than any other group. I want to repeat those ages.
Mm.
African American boys, 5 to 12, are more likely to die by suicide than any other group, and that any other group, that age group.
Right. Okay.
And that is startling to me.
Yeah.
And it's also the second leading cause of death of African Americans 15 to 24. This is not a joke, and this is not something that we don't do. Um, we are we are doing it. The end of 2019, beginning of 2020, there were three Black girls, one of them at least in Chicago or surrounding suburbs, who hung themselves.
Mm.
And anybody who knows anything about suicide, um, shooting, um, and hangings are the most lethal. So when people choose those methods, they mean business.
Mm.
And so I'm like, what is happening to a 12-year-old and a 12-year-old mind
Yeah.
that would give her the inclination to go ahead and do that? Mhm.
So in your professional opinion, what is happening?
So I think a lot of things, right? So one of the things that is at the top of my list is the fact that when Black people tell other Black people, I don't want to be here anymore,
Hmm.
or I feel like dying, they're likely to be told, don't say that,
Hmm.
pray about it, you're going to hell.
Hmm.
Forget about that, right? And shamed into silence about it. And so a lot of times young people know that. So they don't even tell you. So that they're the idea of suicidal ideation, right?
Hmm.
Which is somebody thinking about suicide and planning for it. So they're the hidden ideators. and they're hidden because they're not telling anybody that they're having these ideations.
Mm-hmm.
They're keeping it to themselves because they don't want to face what's going to happen or what's going to be said to them if they tell somebody. And some people, I think a lot of people assume that young Black people, particularly in urban areas, have a lot of support at home. They have moms and dads. No,
Mm.
not all the time. And a lot of our young people, like I'm in Chicago, live in homes where there are adults, chronological adults, but emotionally, the adults are children. And so you have young people who don't have a real adult to talk to
Mm-hmm.
about what's happening inside them. I also think, too, a lot of young Black people are carrying a lot of trauma that's
Mm.
unprocessed
Yeah.
and untalked about, sexual trauma. If you live in urban centers, in Chicago, it's a killing field right now. I've been 52, I've never seen Chicago this hot with killings.
Yeah.
But if you live in certain neighborhoods in Chicago, it is likely that you have seen somebody laying on the ground shot. It is likely that you have friends who have been murdered or family members. And so if you don't have a place to process your trauma, what do you do with it? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just go away, it stays with you and it impacts your day to day. And after a while, I don't think our mental space is created to hold all of this, right? Like if I don't have some place to process it and talk about it and heal, after a while, it really starts to weigh me down and I can't get rid of the images and I can't get rid of the feelings. I don't want to be here anymore.
Mm.
So I think there are lots of reasons why. And then obviously lack of access to mental health care in our community, especially for young people. I get calls all the time from parents saying, hey, I have a 12-year-old, I have a 6-year-old, and it's hard for me to refer them out. It's just not a lot of um, mental health resources for young people. So those are some of the reasons.
Now you mentioned suicidal ideation, which I
Mhm.
believe is can be technically different than actually being suicidal. Is that correct? From the way I
So
understand it.
suicide, yeah, sure, absolutely. Suicidal ideation to me is just thinking, having a thought, right? Like, oh, I don't want to be here. I wish I. But like somebody who actively has a plan, that's past ideation, right?
Mhm.
Like you have a
Okay.
plan, you're going to do something, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's different.
So let's talk a little bit about about how do we begin to address this then?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I want to say something.
Hmm.
Um, just full transparency,
Okay.
a little personal story.
Hmm.
So, I was um, a pretty precocious kid, right?
Okay.
Very smart, very willing to speak to let people know that I was smart,
Hmm.
and very curious. And I'm very much a unicorn in my family, right? Probably in my friend groups too. But
Hmm.
I remember being for probably from 12 until maybe 18 or 19, always having that in the back of my mind, like I don't really want to be here.
Mm.
I could go. And I don't think I told people that. I just carried it. And I didn't tell people because I was raised in a strict Pentecostal environment. And
Mm.
there was no space for me to tell somebody that because I knew if I said that, then I was going to be shamed into silence and told I was going to go to hell. So then why would I share that?
Hmm.
Now, luckily, over the course of my life, I've had women that I could share things like that with, right? But everybody doesn't have that. And lucky for me too, or not lucky, but I feel so blessed. God's grace and mercy is real, Chandra, because I never acted on it.
Mm.
But I walked around feeling that way because, I just always felt so different and so
Hmm.
much, people would tease me about the way I spoke and you think you white and, like what? I look
Mm.
at myself every day in the mirror. How in the heck do I think I'm white? But
Hmm.
um, I just remember struggling with that as a young woman. So just wanted to share that. This is a very personal issue for me.
And I think okay, so I tell you what, let's because I'm looking at this great list of topics, not or subtopics of how we can address this. And one of the things that
Okay.
I'd love to talk about is suicide in the Black church and why that is also such a big
Mm.
issue that is probably maybe not talked about globally, in the Black church
Mhm,
universal,
mhm, mhm,
and how we
mhm.
can better address that.
Chandra, I was at my mother's church maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and the praise leader was singing. And when there was a break in her singing, she said, "Listen, I just want to say that I'm so grateful that I'm here today because this morning I was trying to figure out how I could kill myself before I came to
Mm,
church, and my heart just broke." And then she
mm,
just kept singing.
mm,
And so after church, I was thinking to myself, did somebody address that? Did the pastor talk? Did somebody say, "Hey, can we talk to you?"
mm-hmm,
And I remember talking to her later about it. She actually is a my mother's friend's niece or sister or something, and she was at the house. And I came to her and I said, "Well, you said that. Did somebody, approach you after that?" She said, "Well, they approached me to pray with me, but nobody really said, hey." And my mother's pastor is a physician, so
mm.
that was really shocking to me. So I think that um, Reverend Dewey. I can't. Is that his name in
Dewey
Atlanta?
Smith.
Yeah, I love him.
I
Yes,
love him.
um,
That's my
I
buddy.
adore
I love
him.
him. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, he's amazing. Anyway, I remember him not too long ago talking about some pastor or a couple pastors that he had known that had taken their lives. So I'm like and he talked about it in
Mm-hmm.
a really kind of compassionate, loving way, and was like, we need to find a therapist, right? You can't come here and expect to get all of that. You
Mm-hmm.
can have Jesus and you can have therapy too. And
Mm-hmm.
that really endeared me to him even more, because we need more pastors to stand up and say, Jesus is good, therapy is good too, right? So
Yeah.
if you're feeling some kind of way, go and talk to somebody, reach out, tell
Mm-hmm.
somebody. I think there's just not enough conversation in Black churches about depression and anxiety and bipolar, and
Mm-hmm.
how those things can lead people to suicide. So yeah,
And unfortunately, I think it may be because that's probably one of the places where it's stigmatized the most, because
sure,
maybe, it's seen as either a lack of faith or a lack of,
sure,
something,
mm-hmm,
a person
mm-hmm,
of faith dealing with those issues.
yeah.
And I think until we are really a little more open and transparent and deliberate with dealing with that, we won't really see any progress.
Well, here's the thing too, and um, so two things. So it's you're going to hell. You don't have the right to take your life.
Hmm.
It's a demonic spirit. I've heard that too.
Hmm.
And then a whole idea of just forgetting about it.
Hmm.
So when I think about social work and a master social worker, I think about Jesus Christ all the time. When I
That's a good
when
one.
I went into social work, he was my role model.
Hmm.
He was a master social worker.
Mm.
No, no training, right? But no student loans, but
Hmm.
a master social worker, right?
Yeah.
He would People would come with whatever issues they had, and he would show compassion, love, grace, mercy, heal them, whatever they needed. And so when I think about that as a Christian, I think to myself, if I went to Jesus Christ and said, I want to die, I don't want to be here anymore,
Hmm.
what would Jesus say to me, right?
Hmm.
Would he shame me into silence? Would he say, go hush and go pray? Probably not.
Hmm.
He probably would engage the conversation. There might be some healing in the conversation or whatever resources that he had in modern day, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of how I think about it in the church. We got to stop saying we love Jesus, but be not willing to act right,
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe as he would in circumstances. And I think all of the people that he was hanging out with, right, some of the church people now would shun these people, you know,
Hmm.
I'm, and that's not what we need. We need folks to, if somebody is saying that they're feeling a certain kind of way emotionally, mentally, we need to take on Jesus the Christ and address the issue.
Mm.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is good. So let's talk about a little bit some of the risk factors.
Okay.
And prevention, and yeah, let's talk through that.
So risk factors. Well, that could be a lot of things. It could be abuse. It could
Mhm.
be um, having some underlying mental issue like depression or anxiety or bipolar or whatever. It
Mhm.
could be trauma if you live in certain neighborhoods. It could be bullying, which is really hot and popular, right?
Mhm.
Social media bullying.
Mhm.
A lot of young people take their lives because of that, which
Mhm.
is just shameful. People need to be monitoring what their kids are doing on social media, especially the other kids.
Mhm.
It could be a lack of support, feeling alone, being isolated,
Mhm.
drug use, which is huge. It could be a lot of different things that would cause somebody to feel that way. Um, Sometimes it could be um, some medications.
Mm.
That's a side effect. They tell you to watch. If you listen to antidepressant commercials, it'll tell you may cause suicidal feelings. So it could
Mm.
be a lot of different things that cause somebody to feel that way. Um, People are dealing with a lot, Chandra. I mean, this is, and
Mhm.
I was just reading yesterday or today that suicide in our community has gone up 122% since the pandemic, right? So joblessness, hopelessness, the world is on fire right
Yeah.
now. I mean,
Yeah.
everywhere you look, there's something. So if you don't have the tools or the resources or the strategies to cultivate the peace that passeth all understanding,
Mhm.
you find yourself going cuckoo, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like, whoa, every day something is happening. We had two young men from the same high school get murdered in Chicago 2 days ago. One
Mm.
by me, and the school is as far from me as it can be, and then one at the school. And then we just had a rash of like young people, 7-year-old girls getting shot in the chest.
Mm.
Stuff that is heavy for me, and I'm a mental health worker.
Mhm.
So just imagine young people who are living in these neighborhoods or who are related to these young people and all the other stuff that's going on. So there are lots of risk factors.
And I was really just thinking the last couple of days. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna be taking sometimes you need a social media break, right? Because it's almost
Oh,
like
please,
every
yes.
day social media can
Hmm.
just break your heart.
It can.
We watched the news report the finding of that young man in Illinois, Jelani. Um,
Okay. They found him? I didn't know that. Today?
I think it was
Oh,
confirmed yesterday that it. Well, here's the thing: they had found remains early this month. They just identified that it was in fact him.
do they know what happened?
No, that they said they're still doing
The
uh
investigation. Okay.
yeah.
My goodness.
And I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. I was telling her, as much as I wanted to and tried to remain hopeful, you know,
Hmm.
it was just like, how is this going to end? And so when we see these things play out, and we take this stuff in social media, and it's if you're in it, if you're a human, it's hard to see something like that and not to become emotionally invested in the outcome.
Well, that's
And
called vicarious trauma, ma'am.
mm,
So we not only are they experiencing his mother, we get to experience because we get, you know how Black people are. I mean,
hmm
we're so community minded.
hmm
And so when we see young people, something like that happens, we're experiencing trauma too in your
hmm
body.
hmm
You know what I mean? Like you get to feel that too.
hmm
And so over and over and over and over again,
hmm
either you numb out.
hmm
I have clients all the time that I have to do somatic work with because they don't feel anything anymore.
mm
They're dead from the neck down. If I
hmm
say, how do you feel? Or where's it showing up in your body? They can't tell me because they're numbed out.
mm.
And see, numbness, again, that's another risk factor. When you no longer feel anything, you
Wow.
don't care anymore. Yeah.
hmm
So watching this stuff and watching these things play out is hard on us.
hmm
And it does not help to cultivate healthy emotional, mental, or spiritual space.
hmm
And could be a risk factor too for somebody deciding, hey, this is too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so, I like I said, just even telling myself, because between that and everything going on in Texas this week, it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, it's really, it becomes a lot. And so,
Yeah.
I definitely can understand that. Let's talk a little bit. Let's lean a little more into prevention. And again,
Okay.
if either for yourself or if you know someone, or if you suspect, let me say, know or suspect that someone may be having these type of thoughts and these type of struggles.
So if somebody just comes up to you and says straight out, I want to kill myself. The first question you should need to ask, I don't care who it is, whether you're a professional or not. If you're a mother, a aunt, the first thing you should ask is, do you have a plan? And
Mm,
if they say yes, I have a plan, the second thing you should do is take them to the emergency room
mm,
or ask them to take themselves
mm-hmm,
if it's not possible for you to do that.
mm-hmm,
Because when people say they have a plan, a lot of times that means that they will try it,
mm,
right? Um, Boys and men complete more than girls and women. Completion is follow through and do
mm-hmm,
it. Boys and men also statistically use more lethal um, ways of committing suicide. So they'll shoot themselves or they'll hang themselves,
mm-hmm,
right? Um, Girls sometimes will say it, might take a few pills, write a note, those kinds of
mm-hmm,
things. But even now, I don't think it should be they should be taken for granted either, because we are seeing more and more young women, Black young women,
mm-hmm,
complete. So that's the first thing you should do if somebody says that to you. Do you have a plan? If they say they don't have a plan, then you say, okay, um, if you start to feel this way, first I would probably say have them call the National Suicide Hotline at 800-273-8255. You can look that up on Google. That's easy.
mm-hmm,
So they can have somebody, a professional, to talk to about it. But you could also create a plan with them yourself and say, hey, if you start feeling like this in a real way, these are 3 things I want you to do. Call me, call your mother or somebody close to them,
mm-hmm,
or call the police or the ambulance.
mm,
So set up a plan with them. Now, normally, this is taught. This is something that we learn as mental health specialists, but I think everybody can do that.
mm,
Everybody can do those things, right? The other thing I would say is we need to have people, more caring adults in kids' lives. It don't have to be mom or dad, neighbors, teachers who are trained around this, so they can engage young people or people in general when they say these kinds of things. Um, Please, it is not up to you to decide if this person is serious or not. We
mm,
got it bad with the whole idea that they just want some attention. Stop that.
mm-hmm,
You don't know what somebody is capable of doing or what they're dealing with.
mm-hmm,
Black people, I love us. Lord, I do.
mm,
But because of the brutality that's been visited on us, we internalize it and we use it on ourselves, and we're quick to use it on other people. We are brutal.
mm,
And because we've been through so much, we're quick to dismiss somebody's experience.
mm-hmm,
Stop that. If somebody is telling you that they don't feel good and they need some help because they don't want to be here anymore, please take your lenses off
mm,
and put on another lens of concern and compassion for another human being and engage that conversation. And if you can't engage it on a certain level, help them find somebody to talk to them. Help them get some referrals. You find some referrals, but engage people when they're telling you they don't feel good.
mm,
It's not up to you to make a decision about what this person is doing. I would also say too that we need, as a community, to start really demanding from our city and state legislators mental health care
mm,
for low income folk, right? For
yeah,
the people who really need it, because I have insurance. Most people that I know do, so we can access that stuff. But if you have like Medicaid, which is public aid insurance in Illinois, you can access it, but it's more difficult, right?
mm-hmm,
And in Illinois, there just is not enough There are not enough mental health workers, right? So my circle is made up of a bunch of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my wait list is out of this world right now because I'm getting calls every day from people looking for help that I can't accommodate because I'm already full.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my friends are too. And so we need more people to do this work. And we need to start training lay people, church people, ministers to be paraprofessionals, right? Who can, they're not going to learn everything I learned in grad school, but they can
Mm-hmm.
learn enough so they can help people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
can engage these conversations with folks. So we need to start really thinking about how we can create more opportunities for folks to get the help that they need. And stop assuming
Mm.
that people that are in church are not depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
are too.
Absolutely.
People in church
Absolutely.
are depressed and have anxiety too. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Lisa, I thank you so, so much. Can you just tell everybody how they can follow you and keep up with you, at least on Instagram to Facebook?
Don't tell my business, girl.
Well, follow you
Uh,
everywhere.
so you can find me on Instagram at Lisa Butler LCSW. You can find me on Facebook on my professional page at Lisa Butler LCSW. Um, and my website is www.lisabutlerlcsw.com. And yeah, those three places you can find me.
Now, give us that national hotline one more time, just in case anybody needs it, just in case anybody knows anyone or needs it for themselves.
800
All
That
right.
is the number.
All right, guys, listen, thank you so much, Lisa. We are definitely going to do this again because we have so much to talk about. Now, listen, this is September, right? Next month,
Hmm.
we know that next month nationally we observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but next month is also
Mm,
Domestic Violence Prevention Awareness Month.
it is. It is.
And so,
And we can talk about how Black women lead in partner related deaths. We get murdered and killed by our partners more than any other group in this country. So
mm,
that's and a lot of that has really is connected to religion. Ha ha ha. So
Lisa,
I'm gonna get in trouble. Your review is gonna be like, we don't like that.
we're gonna talk. No, 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 no. We're gonna do it again. I'm telling you, we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk
Yeah,
about
we
it.
need to.
And
We need to.
yeah, I think we're gonna set up something special and really talk about this subject. I know people and friends that work in this space, and they've worked in this space for years, and some of the things that they share with me is just absolutely heartbreaking. You know, um, and
Chandra, I have clients who are married,
mhm,
and although they're not being physically, touched, emotionally and psychologically, the abuse is through the roof. And I just had somebody tell me yesterday, but marriage is sanctioned by God. It is, if that's your belief system,
mhm.
fine. But is abuse sanctioned by God? Did Jesus Christ Himself say, "Hey, if somebody is mistreating you and calling you out of your name, and emotionally disconnected and narcissistic and gaslighting you, you should probably stay there."
I believe he
Mhm.
said that man is supposed to love his wife as Christ loves the church.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I want to come back next month. Yeah, I want to come back.
We're gonna make this happen. Make this happen. Listen, thank you
Yes, for
so
sure.
so much again. I say
Of
thank
course,
you for the work that you do, and I appreciate
I
it. And I
appreciate that.
cannot wait for the next time.
I'm looking forward to talking to you. I love coming on your show. You're amazing, and we definitely could be on here for hours.
Right, right. All right, listen, guys, stay tuned, stay connected, stay tuned for this next conversation. You definitely don't want to miss it. It's the Inspirational Power Hour.